Today I'm going to be talking about disappointments in life and how I navigate through the challenges, the disappointments, and the pain that it brings. Let's get messy. Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm Natalie, and I'm here to share with you how I've turned my messes into messages and come out the other side. I'm not a doctor, so if you feel you need one, please get one. But if you're looking for a friend who's been there, like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. So our viewer question for today is, how do you deal with life's disappointments when it doesn't go your way? I love it. This is a good one because it goes with our theme for the episode today. How do I deal through life's disappointments when things don't go my way? Well, I'll tell you what I used to do, and then I'll tell you what I do now today. I used to get mad. Be like a brat, complain. Why is the world not happening my way? And sit in my room and fall into depression, anxiety, shame, guilt, and frustration. And that just brought upon more shame, guilt, and frustration. But today, I sit in the knowing that if something doesn't work out the way I want it to, it's for my good. Everything happens for my good, even if I can't see it yet. And in surrendering to that, it brings peace. It brings tranquility. It didn't happen overnight, but the more and more I trust this God of my understanding and his will for me, the more I can surrender to his will for me and the understanding that I'm not God. I don't always know the plan or the final destination. I only know what I want now. And sometimes what I want now is building me for what God wants for me in the future. I surrender to that disappointment. And in surrendering to it, it brings a peace. It brings so much peace. So I hope that helped. Guys, pop your questions in the comments below and let's keep it going. So I'm going to tell you a story about my life that has to do with our topic today of navigating through life's pain and disappointments and surrendering to it. When I was 10 years old, I did my first play. I was Annie, and it was so exciting because I didn't even know I had this gift of performing. I just knew when everybody was asleep, I loved to play music in my room. I loved to go into this world where I was just this other person. I loved the thrill of performing. And then when I was able to do it on stage, I loved the thrill of performing for others and creating this magical moment where it was just me, the lights, and the audience creating this new reality. I loved it. I loved it, guys. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to do with my life. So I moved to New York City as soon as I could. I started auditioning like crazy. I worked 4 jobs so I could go to auditions. That became my reason for living. But I would get typecast. I did some TV stuff, but I always got small, minor roles. And I did independent films, but I was always typecast. And I got fed up with it, so I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to get myself a keyboard. I'm going to start writing music about the pain and suffering I've been through, and I did. I started writing music every day. When people were out at the bars, I was home practicing. I was owning my craft because I play piano by ear. I can sort of read music. But when I hear something, I can replicate it on the piano by ear. So I would just sit home and just practice learning new chord progressions and transitions and writing music about frustrations and disappointments that I had. And it brought a peace to me. Even though a lot of my music back in the day was about pain and suffering, it brought a peace to me. And a knowing that I could do something with the pain of my past and turn it into something beautiful. But that too was a disappointment. I was typecast in a girl band where we just sang songs about being gorgeous. And that wasn't enough for me. When I presented them with my original music, they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to go there. They didn't want to talk about this type of stuff. So I sought other types of bands I could be in. And I went with a music producer down to Miami because we had an interview with a record label, but we found drugs instead. And I put the drugs before my dreams of that little girl, that 10-year-old girl that loved this. The drugs became more important. And then I started to get really angry at God and really frustrated because I'm like, I finally had my dreams, but the drugs got in first place. God, how could you do this to me, right? Blaming God again, even though I had free will, but blaming God. And I see today that wasn't my path. I wasn't meant to be some big singer or some big actor. Like, that was not my path in this life. But I get so tied up in what I think I'm supposed to have that then I'm not able to look and surrender to what God wants me to have. And I see now it was all building me, right? We live in a time of truth. We live in a time of realism, and we see that a lot of these actors and famous singers and performers die. I mean, take Whitney Houston, for example, or one of my favorites, Amy Winehouse, right? Drug addicts, and they die, sometimes from suicide, sometimes from accidental suicide, overdose from the drugs and alcohol. So in reality, God was helping me. God was working for my good, not giving me what I wanted and giving me these life disappointments. And I see now it was shaping me and building me to do what I'm doing now for you, to make content, to make podcasts, to live stream, to be able to express myself comfortably to an audience. Doesn't have to be on a stage, right? But I couldn't see that in the moment, that all these things I was doing was building me for the next phase when I could put the drugs down long enough to get my mind right and my heart right, right? What was I doing it? Because I wanted it back then. But when I spin things around and I start thinking, how can I use my gifts and talents to serve others, right? How can I use my gifts and talents to serve others? That, my friends, is when God starts rewarding me with the true reason and purpose for why I love to do the things that I do. Why these things truly bring me passion. And I never thought it was going to be speaking. I thought it would be reading lines and singing, but sometimes God has a different plan for us than we have. If we just hold on long enough in that faith, as hard as it can be sometimes, we hold on and don't give up. That, my friends, is when the beautiful stuff happens in life. At least it did for me, and it has for other people I know. So I stand firm in the knowing that it could happen for you too. If you just use your talents and strengths to serve others and ask God every day, God, how can I use the gifts you've given me to serve the world? Amazing things can happen. They can. And I've surrendered to the fact that if I was famous, like Whitney Houston, for example, and Amy Winehouse, and I could get whatever I wanted whenever I wanted it, and I had people that were co-signing my BS and giving me whatever I wanted, however I wanted it, that I'd probably not be here in front of you today, that I probably would have ended up just like them. Because I'm no different than any other human being. I fall short. I have weaknesses. And drugs was definitely one of them. But I had to fall to the lowest low. If you watch my other episodes, you know how low I fell. I did things I never thought I'd do. I lost things I never thought I'd lose. But it was that gift of desperation, that major disappointment in life that made me say this pain's great enough and I'm ready to look at it from another perspective. I'm ready to surrender to God's will for me instead of my will for me. Surrendering to life's disappointments. Surrendering to things when they don't go my way. Holding on to that faith and standing firm in it has changed my life beyond my wildest dreams. And I'm making this episode today because I want it to change your life too. That in the negativity, in the fear, in the sadness and depression that not getting our way can bring about, if we can just surrender in that moment and say, maybe doing it this way and not getting my way is building me for something greater. Maybe this pain that I'm walking through is going to help somebody else. Maybe this journey that I'm on in wanting things to go a certain way is leading me to a different thing that I also want. I just can't see it now because that's how it was for me. I couldn't see it now. And now I live in unshakable faith. This changed my life so much. Literally, guys, if somebody does me dirty or does me bad, lies or hurts me, I'm like, well, God didn't want them in my life. It was to teach me a lesson. If an opportunity doesn't work out the way I wanted it to, I surrender to, well, God's got a different plan for me. It wasn't supposed to work out my way. It literally goes as crazy as when I'm in traffic. I will literally surrender to, all right, God, I'm not supposed to get to where I wanted to be at the time I thought I was supposed to be there. I surrender to you. I'm supposed to be late, or I'm supposed to not even go. And my friends, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful life when you can surrender to God's will. And instead of wanting what we want now and feeling disappointed by not getting our way, just like living this new way of life of surrendering to God's way and saying, well, God is my omnipotent, all-knowing Father. He is all-knowing, omnipotent, and he can see things that I can't see. He knows what I don't know. He sees everything. He knows the future. He knows the past. He knows the moment. And I walk firm in that faith. Like, I know my omnipotent Father in heaven knows way more than I do. And I surrender to him. Like, I fully surrender. And it has changed my life, because when you live in this unshakable place that God is working everything out for your good, even if it's disappointing, even if it's not what you want in the moment, you begin to live in this blissful reality where everything works for your good. And even when people do you wrong and hurt you, you can still stand firm in the knowing that it was supposed to be that way, that they were a reason or a season in your life, not a lifetime. And sometimes I get that confused. I want people to be in my life forever. But most people in your life are just there for a season or a reason to teach you a lesson. And sometimes that's beautiful. You know, all the destructive relationships I have in the past, I still have love for those people and compassion because they taught me valuable lessons. I could look at the abuse they gave me and the pain and suffering I endured from being with them and be disappointed and angry. But what does that do? I learned lessons from all of the things that didn't go my way, including the people. You know, I'm going to marry this guy. I'm going to be with him forever. That was my will. God had a different plan. He's like, no, my child, this person is here to teach you something so you could grow into the next phase. I wasn't meant to be this big actress or singer-songwriter, but it was conditioning me for the next phase in my life. So I'm here to encourage you, don't get too hung up on the disappointments in life. Stand firm in knowing that it's conditioning you for the next phase and God is working everything out for your good. I'll see you guys in the next episode.